So does Miss Nell, sitting right up here. She's clapping away. She's on beat all the time. I worked out at a church in Williamsburg, Virginia, with the guy that I'd gone to seminary with. Great guy, Sam Goins. So a lot of you guys have probably met him before. He has a wonderful voice, and yet he does not know how to clap. And so we would sit together at the front row of the church we were at, and he would start trying to hit the beat, and he never could hit the beat. And then he would look at me, and then he would start laughing. And he's a laughing crazy. He's a crazy laughing guy. And anyway, I said, just stop right there. This is not helping at all. But anyway, we've been talking about the idea of getting back into some live music here at Life Community Church in 2023, and I'm looking forward to that, as well as these things that we have up there. And Tor couldn't be with us today because he's on call at the Medical University. So let me share with you just real quickly here an overview that we did last week. When we talked about three of these words, the first one was expect. I don't know if you guys ever expect for something to happen in your life. I assume you probably do. But expecting life-changing truth in God's Word was the kickoff last week. It's not about principles. Not that principles aren't good, they are good, but it's also about, more than anything, the person of God who comes into our lives and calls us forth, and we'll see that later. The second word is exist. Exist for something beyond yourselves. Fulfillment is proportionate always to investment, right? I mean, if you want something, you've got to put something into it. You have to be able to proportion things in order to get that investment, right? And then the third one is engage. Engage passionately pursuing people. Now, that word may be a little too difficult to deal with right now. But I'm not talking about passionately in the sense of overwhelming somebody, okay? I'm talking about that it's not about us. It's about others in our lives. In Life Community, we took one word at the beginning, and we're still using it. The word is relationships. We believe that there is nothing like that. And that God, and we're going to see this in Genesis 3 today, but the one word, the concept of building relationships. I mean, there are times when we do pretty good jobs at that, but there are also times where life is really getting us down, and we've got other things we've got to look into. We developed three purposes in those early years. The first one was meaningful conversations. The second one, engaging connections. And the third is fulfilling community. And that led us to these 7 core values. We don't create or invent values, guys. They are timeless, and they are not just timeless, they're eternal to us. Values underwrite the life that we were created for. Shared values lead us to substantial changes in our life, and we all know that we need that. We experience limitless living by establishing these core values that we've been talking about. They've become sort of like our true north, the physical top of the planet Earth. The true north has come to mean other things, hasn't it? True north is the orienting point in your life, in my life. Think of it as your fixed point that helps you stay on track. And you know when you move off of that track, right? It is derived from your deeply held beliefs, number one, your deeply held values because of those beliefs, and then ultimately the principles that you put inside of your life to live life by day in and day out. We're going to talk about this limitless living this morning in Genesis 12, 1 through 3. The Lord had said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household. Go to the land I will show you. Excuse me. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all of the people on earth will be blessed through you. These three short verses are packed with critical, historical promise to all of mankind. And so God chooses this Hebrew, Abraham, to be the individual to leave where he was and to go where God was calling him to go. The call to Abraham is like an encrypted blueprint, if you will, for humanity. And it has stayed that way for thousands of years. Because we possess life, God calls us into a partnership of life with Him. An expression of His own generosity to each and every one of us. Not to mention eternity. The Bible contains in its story narratives. We like that, as we are reading a book, any book, but even as we are reading the Bible, what we're finding are narratives. And this thing imagine if you were Abraham and God just popped in one day and said, hey, I want you to get rid of everything you got, and I want you to go up to this place, and I'm going to take care of it. How many of us would actually do that? See, God's covenant with man is contraction. God says, I love you, and I want you to learn to love me. And that's a difficult thing for us oftentimes in life. Each covenant has a central purpose. Relentlessly pursue life through relationships. It's an unparalleled opportunity to be God's proxy on earth, wherever He takes us. This morning I want to unpack this passage in Genesis 12 for just a moment. But they all relate to this 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th words that we're going to look at. This stuff is of paramount importance. I don't know of anything that's more important than this. To us as a church, and to you and me as individuals, what Abraham did, you too can do. So the first core value is the number 4 core value. Explore. Because playing it safe is risky. Someone once said that the church has spent a lot of time teaching us how to die, but very little time teaching us how to live. I, for one, am intrigued by such a statement as that. Let me share with you what I think it actually means. If Christianity, being a follower of Jesus, is about the next life in heaven, then what am I to do in this life on this earth? You see, if Christianity, being a follower of Jesus, is reduced for you and me getting into heaven, what is my motivation for living in the present? See, the logical conclusion one reaches with this concept is that it doesn't much matter how I live this life. Christianity becomes a means to an end. I'll agree to a formula, a doctrine, a set of rules to escape hell. When you start believing that you're already living in hell on earth some days, right? You know what it's like. Let's look a little closer at God's words to Abraham. Leave your country, your people, your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. He has no idea where he's going. That doesn't sound like preparation for death. That sounds like living into a new, adventurous, risky life now. And somehow, God knew to choose this man, Abraham. He has, for you and for me, something risky for us to do throughout our lives as well. God says to Abraham and to you and to me, life isn't about waiting where it's familiar, predictable, and comfortable, although that is what we spend most of our time on. Explore life as if it were an adventure. Does that describe your life and my life? Explore life as if it were an adventure, because playing it safe is risky in so many, many ways. One of the driving forces behind Life Community Church is to disrupt the ordinary. That doesn't stop inside of Life Community Church. It begins in life, in the life of LCC. What does it mean to disrupt the ordinary? It's about reshaping the way people imagine and experience in their own world, so that they can share with others what we've accomplished. There are plenty of churches in Mount Pleasant to choose from. The statistics tell us that 65 to 70% of the population is saying, no thanks, church. You know, the last two decades is continuing to get more and more people leaving the church. They call them the nuns. N-O-N-E. Yes. Why? Because what they know of the church doesn't compel them to be a part of the church. It's more, we're going to talk more about that later, but Mahatma Gandhi said of Christianity, I like your Jesus, but I do not like your Christians. I think Gandhi saw in Christianity was a religion, not a relationship. Religion excludes people. And we saw that throughout the New Testament with the Pharisees. The religious mafia, as I like to call them. Relationship includes people. The world is choking on useless religion. But what it longs for is meaningful relationships. God said, I don't care what you've done. I care about who you are. If LCC is going to attract people, we will have to disrupt the ordinary notions people have about Christianity. And I don't mean beating them over the head with a Bible. The last thing we would need to do. It takes pioneers willing to explore alternative and authentic ways of being a church. Core value number 5, escape. Really, that's what Abraham did. He escaped from where his home was to somewhere else. Life is about who you are becoming. Abraham was 99 years old when he left home. And he took with him a lot of his home. 99 years old. Moving up into an area of polytheistic people who think about everything as God rather than one God. Ever known someone whose purpose in life seemed to be to remind you of your mistakes? I think we all had that happen. Maybe some of us have even made it happen. There are a lot of people who keep you in your past so that you don't live into the future. God says to Abraham, I will make you into a great nation. He's just blowing this thing out. Abraham trusted him. Has trusted God for this. He's going to leave, and he's already in the process of leaving. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. 6 times in these 3 verses, God uses the future tense phrase, I will. Here's what I think God is saying. When you trust me enough to leave your past, I will give you your future. Life is not about who you've been or what you've done. God's point is that life is always about who you are becoming every single day of our life. It never stops. And it never should until it's time for us to leave. But in the process of moving with God, just as Abraham did, we begin to learn things that we've heard about, but we've never taken the time to really look at it. Life is not about who you've been or what you've done. God's point is life is always about who you are. That Nelson Mandela once said, it is not man's darkness that he fears, it is his light. Darkness is what we were at one time. Light becomes what we can be when we move with this God. You and I are experts at living from our memories. What if we were to begin living from our imaginations? I read more and more and more from Christian authors. in regards to this concept of imagination, and many of them, for a number of years, had never even considered imagination until they understood, wow, where did that come from? How did that get into my head? You do it, I do it every day, oftentimes. Imagination is critical, and Abraham is one who understood that. I'm going somewhere where I don't know I'm going. And as he bedded down in the deserts as they were moving north, he's probably thinking to himself, having, and talking with his wife about it, and saying, man, can you imagine what this God is going to do with us? Right? Yeah. Sometimes wanting to turn around and go back, yeah. But that wasn't his calling. Abraham had to escape his previous life if he was going to live into this new life that God had called him to. He had to imagine what could be. He had to risk trusting in God's promise. He doesn't believe in God. He believes God. It's a huge difference. Core value number 6 is embark. Faith is live as an adventurous journey. Linda took me on a cruise back when I was in seminary. And I didn't want to go. I was scared to death I'd fall off the ship. I wasn't scared of that. What I was scared of was throwing up. So I went over to one of the doctors and I said, "You got anything? I'm going on a cruise ship. I'm afraid I'm going to start throwing up in front of people and everything." "Oh yeah, man, that's something. They did this work." And so he gave me a bunch of these pills, and I don't know what they were. Anyway, we down to Miami, we got on the ship and got out into the ocean, and it was really cool that first day. And then started thinking to myself, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow when we get out really in the deep part of the ocean? It's going to happen tomorrow. It didn't happen tonight. And told Linda, I said, I don't know why I got these pills, but I'm doing fine. And she said, well, maybe God wanted you to get those pills and give them to somebody else. And I said, that's a good thing. And then for the next 3 or 4 days, people were coming to my door going, hey, Mike, you don't know me, but I heard you got some stuff, to take away the queasies. And I'm like, oh yeah, how much you want? Exactly. Faith is lived as an adventurous journey, man. I was in an adventurous journey out on the high seas. And that was wonderful. I never took those pills. How do you find faith? How do I find faith? It's one of the most important questions we will ever deal with. In Hebrews 11:1, faith is being sure of what we hope for, and certain of what we do not see. That's a little different, isn't it? Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for. You and I hope for a lot of things, and the writer of Hebrews says, now faith is being sure of what we hope for. That sounds kind of strange, isn't it? Because you and I hope for a lot of things that never come to pass. And yet, the writer says, now faith is being sure of what we hope for. He continues on and says, in certain of what we do not see. what does he mean there? In search of what we do not see. The Life Community Church, we've talked for years and years in regards to the concept of faith. And in these last probably 5 or 6 years, we've begun to talk about faith for what it is. It is you and me trusting this God. And knowing that while what we hope for may not pass by, something even better will pass by in our lives. Abraham exemplified what faith truly is by embarking on a new life. That decision had within it 2 essential elements of faith. The first one, hope. The second one, certainty. When you look at this, in the English, when you look at this, you're going, well, this seems to be contradictory. Oxymoronic. Until we understand that speaking to this God in the way that we've been trying to here at Life Community Church about saying, God, I trust you with me. I don't have to know what you are doing. I simply am going to trust you with me. That's scary. It is difficult. Abraham certainly did it. If God were to say to you, as he did to Abraham in Genesis, I will make your name great and you will be a blessing. Well, that sounds really good, God. Because I really want to have a great name that people love. A blessing, man, I couldn't even stop to think that I was blessed. You, like me, would probably say, you got the wrong person here. Abraham found God was going to be at work. You ever think of God working? He was working. Going to be at work in the culture. The culture that Abraham was going to. The culture that you and I live in here. His job was to join God wherever he already was. We did a series last year about how God goes ahead of us. But that's what's precisely the point. It's all about faith in me. It's about faith in the person who made the promise. And the promise was made by who? God. We don't live faith as an adventurous journey by developing or conjuring up faith, but by releasing faith. And it is at that point I became focused upon trusting God. Faith is a religious word. It's a wonderful, maybe a top 5 word inside of the Scriptures. And I began to talk to myself about the idea of trust. When we release faith, we are essentially saying, hey God, I'm ready for an authentic experience with you. It's literally a tipping point in our life. Departure is what is required, as we see with Brother Abraham. To find our identity in life. My identity. Your identity. the identity that the LCC has in Mount Pleasant. I don't believe Jesus called me to embark on an adventurous journey of systematic theology. Now, before y'all get upset about what I just said, I got a heck of a lot of theology in 5 years at CIU. The theology gave me a framework. It invited me on an adventure. I literally, it's no lie, I literally got in between two guys. School I was at, outside, about to go to fisticuffs over their specific systematic theology. So I stepped in front of them because one of them was a really good friend of mine. He was skinny and lanky, and he was up against a guy who had red hair. You know where I'm going. Red hair, he was Irish. I said, Jack, we're going now, right now. He said, no, man, I'm not through. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And the guy's just sitting over there, you better get out of here. And this was at a seminary. And I grabbed him and I drove him down to the car. Framework is important when we're building a house. But don't stop there if what we're dreaming of is a home, if that makes sense. In the same way, faith and principles or ideas can never answer the deepest longings and questions of our soul. What we need is faith in a person, in a being, in a relationship, if we're going to make the journey of life. And the last core value, number 7, enter. Be a part of the conversation that shapes culture. God's final sentence in this challenge to Abraham, and all the people on earth will be blessed by you. When we enter the conversations of life and others, we have an opportunity to really be a part of shaping that life and allowing them to shape our life. Sometimes that doesn't work. I understand that. We're not compatible. And we have to move away from that. Nothing wrong with that. But we have an opportunity to shape lives. David Kinnaman. He wrote a book along with another guy called Unchristian. We used that book. It has a long series on it in the old days. In 3 years of research, the data concluded people outside don't like people inside the church. Well, unless it's the church lady. What we're against is not what a lot of people see. When Jesus began his earthly ministry, he didn't say, hey guys, let's set up a church in Jerusalem and invite people to come visit us. What he did say was, come on guys, let's go engage. Listen to their stories, talk to them about life, and offer them alternatives. You're not going to do that the first time you meet somebody. But if you were to say, if you were to say, this week I'm going to engage someone, at the office or somebody at the ball field or someone at the grocery store or whatever, if you're capable and you're longing to engage someone, in regards to something such as God has done with Abraham. You don't want to start off by telling them all that you've learned about pursuing the life that God gave you. That will come, and it's an alternative. Jesus was the original author of that often repeated cliche, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And here's the deal. We cannot hope to impact people without talking to them, obviously. And you will not talk to them unless you have been impacted. There are many reasons for this unfortunate statistic. 50% of about every church that is ever planted will not be in existence for more than 2 years. We're in our 15th year almost. Thank God. That God brought us here, and you here, to be a part. And what does that mean? We designed this church to, the church has to be different. And it has to make a difference in people's lives. It takes more than simply being present. It takes initiative to be creative. Expect, exist, engage, explore, escape, embark, and enter is a church which I believe can not only survive, but thrive. In a culture that is starving for meaningful conversations, and engaging connections, fulfilling community, this is the church that is doing that. We close. I read the book Abraham, written by a gentleman named Bruce Taylor. He said this about Abraham. For Abraham, the sacrifice leaving was known. The reward, blessing, was known. But the destination was unknown. To follow God, to be a descendant of Abraham, is to stand inside of that gap. To not understand the destination yet is where God comes to us and encourages us. We talk about challenging each other and encouraging each other at this church. We have the courage to be encouragers and challengers. Make it lead to leave what we know, to embrace what God calls us to be, not to do. The doing will come, once the be has come. First quarter of 2023, we will be talking more and more about this in those first 3 months. Because I believe in this church. I look out at you and I believe you believe that too for yourself. God has something to do with us. And as we imagine together, God will show us and pull us from where we are to where He belongs for us to be. Let's pray. Father, this time that we spent together, we pray that each individual here that there was a piece of this that meant something to them. Whatever that piece may have been, please make that certain to them through the course of this week, in whatever way you want to do that. As you challenge, you certainly encourage. You need not be afraid of that. I pray that this week, those who are here, those who are online, those who will be watching us online throughout next week as well, that they too would be able to pick out of these 7 words that which really fits in right now, that which they've been wanting to do and longing. So we pray that you would change us and remake us in the image of your Son.